I take a drill and a soldering iron to the chassis of a slot car, I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Hello, slotheads, young and old, near and far, experienced and beginner. I showed off my swap meet haul a little while ago and teased you all with the fact that I was going to add a digital chip to the 2 analog cars I picked up. Now, hopefully you saw the Beetle turning some laps on the goofy little short that I made, because that one has been done for a few days now. To be honest, the Beetle was supposed to be my practice car. You know, the one that if I screwed it up, no big deal. I would use it as a static model on my track if I absolutely had to. But as it turns out, the Beetle was way harder than the Slot.it. I used the SlotTechnik chip for both cars, but I think the longer chassis and easier connection to the braids made the Lola much more straightforward. The only tools that I used were a wire stripper, a soldering iron, the SlotTechnik chip, some hot glue, and a little bit of super glue. Now, I was so nervous about messing the whole thing up that I decided not to add additional pressure to putting the camera on while I did it. So instead, we're going to swap over to the workbench behind me, and I'll show you how I installed the chip after the fact. Alright, so we're at the workbench. I've already got the body unscrewed from the chassis, so we're just going to pull it apart. And what you'll see is a nice, tidy little wire setup. To be honest, much tidier than on the Beetle, but it'll work. And it's double-sided tape, the chip's in here, and you'll get a diagram with the SlotTechnik, but on the far right, those 2 wires go to the braids. You'll see one comes over here to the right, down to that braid, this one, over to the left, down to that braid, perfect. The middle 2 will already have the sensor, the LED, soldered to the end of it, so that one's super easy. That one, all you have to do is measure from the center of the chassis. So the center line of the chassis has to be 12.5 millimeters from the side in the front third of the chassis. So you drill a hole. It has a little retainer there. I glued that in with super glue. Put the LED in from the back and then hot glue over that just to hold it in place. So that's the middle 2 wires. The back 2 wires are the motor wires. And this one is the one that you got to do a little bit of soldering. So it gets a little nerve-wracking, but to be honest, these things can take some, a bit of a beating. So I desolder the other ones. You tin the wires, you tin the leads on the actual motor. And there'll be lots of recommendations online and in here, and you can make notes on what came off of here and where it went, but it really, with both experiences, I had to switch the wires. And they're opposite. And so basically you solder them on, put it on the track, and coat it and fire it up. If it goes backwards, you flip these 2. Simple as that. Not going to do any damage. Obviously, don't do a whole lap backwards, but yeah, you just flip-flop them, and then boom, you're ready to go. It's as simple as that. I obviously use a little bit of hot glue to secure them down a little bit more. This chassis surprisingly has much more room in it than the Beetle did, just because the Beetle, it's a small car, and the tray is super detailed, whereas this one is a very small, very tight, compact tray. So eventually I'm going to do some lights. It looks like they're already ready to go, so I could just get an LED there. And the kit comes with plugs for these. So we basically just wire right up, right into there, good to go. So I'm excited about that, but we're not worrying about that just yet. So yeah, we'll put it back together and we'll get on the track and I'll show you a few laps. Not going to try to break any records, but yeah. We'll give it a few laps. Just wake it up a bit. Going around, looking good, and then we'll do some lane changers. Change the lane. Change that one. Change that one. Change that one. pit lane works. And we are rolling. Just looks like a rocket ship. It's not my fastest car, mostly because it's an older car that's been sitting in a box, so the tires are pretty old, pretty nasty. They're not very soft anymore. So I'm gonna try to get some silicones for it. This might also be my first one I test urethanes on it. I haven't decided yet, but I am loving it. I'm absolutely in love with this one too. So super cool. And then while we're at it, we might as well try the Beetle. Switch controllers real quick, and I'll show you. This one is squirrely. We saw it in the short, but I figured since we're talking about chipping cars, it changes lanes. This one I did have to make a new guide for it. If you're interested, I'll let you know. I basically designed it in Fusion Street 360 and printed it. So pretty cool, but I'm digging it. But she does that all the time. Like I said, it's just about as straightforward as it could possibly get. I'm confident that if you have even limited soldering skills like I do, you can pull it off as well. These were the first 2 cars I've modified to work on my digital track, but they are certainly not the last. Now that the options for analog cars have been opened up to me, I cannot wait to test out other brands that I've been missing out on. But for now, that's all I've got. So I'll see you next time.